Welcome into A to Z Sports Prime Time on this Thursday, December the 11th. Happy to have you in for another episode of the Prime Time program. So the Titans got a win, and it's feasible. It's possible. It is, I wouldn't say probable, but it is an opportunity to do the thing that they never do anymore, which is to win a game that they have no business winning. And in doing so, win back-to-back games for the first time since 2022. There's so few opportunities anymore to talk about actual football, it feels like. So I feel like we should take the opportunity to talk about whether the Titans are going to be able to repeat their success against Cleveland and take it out west and beat the Niners, or at least give the Niners a closer game than 12.5 that we see right now. So you're going to hear from Greg Cosell. You're going to hear from Alec Iamaner on some critical components that would be required to go out there and beat the San Francisco 49ers, who are very much they're not fighting for their playoff lives. They're still fighting for their division at this point in time, though it is a hotly contested division. They're coming off a bye, and the other two teams in their division, in the Rams and the Seahawks, have double-digit wins so far on the season. So knocking the Niners down a peg would be interesting. It would be, I think, an important step in the right direction. I think all wins matter in this particular kind of situation, and I would rather see a win than a better draft position coming out of Sunday's result. I know some of you may feel differently, but tonight we're going to talk about keys to success. So we'll get into that together right after you guys share the broadcast around on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and on Twitch. Wherever you are live streaming the show with us tonight, please do us the courtesy of sharing it around. If you're hanging out on Twitter, please retweet the show in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. If you're on Facebook Live, you can share Not a Public. In fact, I'll do it from my Facebook right now. You can share Not a Public. That's in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen, where you are always so kind to share this show, like the video, on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitch, and make sure you subscribe to the various channels while you're there. We do always appreciate your participation. And if you're feeling froggy, you can even text the link to a friend as we welcome more of you guys into tonight's program. Once you've shared the show around, more of you guys will trickle on in here, and we'll go ahead and get this thing rolling. In the meantime, in time for you to enjoy some Thursday night football in the NFC South. Welcome into A to Z Sports Prime Time from the TDOT studios, where the Tennessee Department of Transportation reminds you that nobody trashes Tennessee. Nobody trashes TN.com is how you can be a part of the solution to end littering. By Two Rivers Ford, the South's most trusted Ford dealer, online at tworiversford.com. Quality American-made Ford vehicles and award-winning customer service are what they offer. TrueMap Fitness in the Gulch, where your first workout is free. As a Middle Tennessee resident, no workout ever recycled or repeated. And Simon Says, the premier men's clothing spot in Nashville, is simonsaysnashville.com. All right, so keys to a victory. Let's talk about what it would take for the Titans to win a game. What would be your biggest key to the Titans going out there and winning? So we understand there wasn't a perfect performance on Sunday in Cleveland, but we do understand that it was a good enough performance in all three phases, the definition of complementary football, to give a rookie quarterback the chance to be imperfect and still have success. Now, there's been talk about Cam Ward's attitude after the game. Did he get excited enough about the win? Was that palpable? His teammates? Whatever. I don't care about that shit. What I do care about is that we see progress. Doesn't have to be linear, but it would be good to see back-to-back games where they stack winning performances to show us that they're capable of doing it, to show us that they're capable of not shrinking from this moment, and showing us that it can be done against a 9-win Niners team, and not just the lowly Cleveland Browns. To do so in both situations on the road would be huge. And there's a couple of different football things to take away from their performance that were pointed out to me earlier in the week, and also some additional information today that Cosell mentioned about their use of motion in this particular game, and what a huge variance it was in the Browns game versus some of the other games that they've had. Offensive motion, and such a huge variance from week to week, and how that is a tool to be able to help Cam Ward, to be able to help the offense identify things on defense earlier, to make the pre-snap recognition a little more seamless for the rookie quarterback. So there's some good numbers on their percentage of shotgun versus under center that I'm going to share with you, the percentage of RPOs that they used, and also the percentage of pre-snap motion that they deployed in this last game that will give you some additional context as to why, beyond just that they stopped Myles Garrett, that they were able to have success. So what is your biggest key to success against the Niners this Sunday? Let me know in the comment section on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and on Twitch. And I will remind you that your Two Rivers Ford take is made possible by the South's most trusted Ford dealer. That, of course, is Two Rivers Ford, where they remind you that their year-end sales event is currently going on now until the end of the month. Two Rivers always gets you the best price and the best financing on quality American-made Ford vehicles. TwoRiversFord.com for more details today. Okay, so what is the biggest key for success against the San Francisco 49ers? Well, there's a couple of different things that you have to know about the way that this Niners team plays, and that's something that we talked about this morning on the latest episode of The Install. Robert will do me the courtesy of dropping the link to the YouTube channel or to the YouTube episode in the comment section for you guys to be able to see the full preview and also understand what Cam Ward did well, what Cam Ward did poorly against Cleveland, and kind of some indicators to look at moving forward as far as how the Titans played offensively and will they do it again. Halo says stopping Christian McCaffrey is going to be the biggest key to the game. Yes, he's an incredibly viable and versatile piece for them. He's been very available on a team that's been hurt all year long. He is their best receiver as well as their best rusher, and they are in a situation where they deploy him in a variety of different ways. Now, obviously, his primary situation, he's working out of the backfield, but they also deploy him a good deal in the slot. He has 71 snaps on offense so far this season out of the slot. He has several slot snaps, not quite as many, split out wide. He also has snaps in line at the line of scrimmage, which is interesting. So they use McCaffrey all over the place, even though his primary situation is out of the backfield. So we asked Greg Cosell about the Niners and diagnosing them, and I think you'll be able to see some keys to success in Greg's analysis. We know Niners coming off a bye, and they've been dealing with injuries all year long. They're a little heavier on the pass than I thought they would be, Greg, and I'm sure that's not how Kyle Shanahan would prefer to play so far this season.
Yeah, I mean, obviously they're still a running football team. I guess we don't know about Kyle Juszczyk at this point. He's critical to the way they play. They'd have to play differently because they play about 40% plus of 21 personnel, and Juszczyk is so critical as a motion player. And by the way, just a quick point to mention about the Titans, and these are the kinds of things you want to see developing as the season progresses. Buck, they featured more pre-snap movement versus the Browns than they had deployed in any previous game this season. And that's something that is sort of become the direction the league is moving. I mean, more than 68% of their offensive snaps had shifts and or motions, with 33 of those snaps featuring motion as the ball was snapped. And, that's, again, there's reasons why teams do it and there's reasons why teams don't do it. So I'm not going to sit here and say they've made a mistake because they're playing with a rookie quarterback. And when you have a rookie quarterback, don't forget, sometimes when you motion, you know what? The other team moves too. Yeah. The defense moves. And, maybe Cam, as they're developing him, maybe he was not comfortable with that. You don't know. Again, these are things we don't know. But it's just something that I noticed immediately watching the tape that, boy, there's more shifting in motion. And, in today's NFL, that tends to be a good thing as opposed to a bad thing. But anyway, getting back to the Niners, the Niners are not really a big mystery and how they play. They want to run the ball with McCaffrey and the run game's multiple. And they've been up and down doing that this year in terms of their offensive line performance. And obviously, Purdy missed 5 games, if I'm not mistaken. But their pass game is very timing and rhythm based. So you have to defend that because, they normally, unless it's a long yardage situation, they normally don't have a lot of deep drops. They normally are very timing and rhythm. He drops back, balls out. So you really have to defend the routes in those situations, the more normal down and distance situations. You have to defend the scheme more than you have to defend the quarterback. Does that make sense, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, because you're not going to get to the quarterback. Now you can on 3rd and 9 if there's deeper drops, But, in normal down and distance situation, with the rhythm of the pass game, you're not likely to get to the quarterback. So you have to defend the scheme and the concepts more than the quarterback.
So, in the middle of that, Greg brought up for the Titans pre-snap motion and how much that helps the Titans or how much that helps any quarterback, not just a young quarterback. So here's some numbers that are great stats and info department were able to run for us to be able to have a little more context of how much they did under center versus shotgun, which I do have the percentages on as well. But the variance for them in their pre-snap motion and their offensive motion is all over the place. And the question that Stats and Info posed me today was, and I'll just read you directly from the text because we do have some people helping us with Stats and Info now, which is delightful. Interesting point by Cosell on motion last week. Such a huge variance from week to week, and I'll give you the numbers here in a second. I wonder what triggers, why they use it more one week versus another, certainly more as the season has progressed. So, for example, their lowest percent of pre-snap motion on offense is 33.9% against the Raiders, arguably their worst offensive game of the season, against a team that is terrible in the Raiders. So we understand that there may be a correlation there in what they were able to do versus how they tried to execute it. And obviously, Brian Callahan, that was the game that got him fired. So Vegas is their lowest percentage of pre-snap motion so far this year. Their highest is against the Chargers, a game that they played pretty well. They had the opportunity to win that game. It got away from them late. Justin Herbert is just simply a better player and was able to overcome their offensive line injuries to go on and get the win. But the second highest percent of pre-snap motion so far, and it's by a pretty good margin. So 70.5% was the Chargers. 70.3% was the Browns. The next highest was against Houston in week 11. So that was the home game against the Texans at 64.9%. So all the games that they had arguably their best performances in, which were Chargers, Browns, home Texans, Seahawks, was their highest percentage of pre-snap motion. Pre-snap motion is critical to help Cam Ward identify what's out there. And for Cam Ward to be – now, Cam Ward also has to execute, and the Titans offense has to execute sufficiently enough for that to matter. And they have to take advantage of those advantageous matchups when they're able to identify them. I don't know if they're able to identify them effectively, but there is no question that in the games that they've played the best, that they have deployed a higher percent of pre-snap motion. The other part of this is the run game. They ran for a season-high 184 yards. And I'll get into – you'll hear from Alec Iamaner here in just a second, right after who you may think, well, he's a wide receiver. What do I care about what Alec has to say in the run game? If you watched him knock the shit out of Myles Garrett this past weekend on a blindside block, not an illegal blindside block. He called it a bit of a cheap shot. Alec did. But you understand that Alec Iamaner is a good piece for you in the run game, as was Van Jefferson. For as much shit as Van Jefferson caught, and I understand why, on dropping a pass that he needed to have in that game, Van Jefferson is also responsible for one of those long Tony Pollard touchdowns and clearing out some defensive players for them to be able to execute that explosive play. So I'll tell you about, or I'll let you hear from Alec here in just a second, right after I remind you that the Primetime program made possible by the Tennessee Department of Transportation, where they remind you that you can be a part of the solution to end littering at NobodyTrashesTN.com. Also by TrueMath Fitness, where I will be tomorrow morning, where your first workout is free as a Middle Tennessee resident. No workout ever recycled or repeated at TrueMathFitness.com. So they ran for a season-high 181 rushing yards on Sunday against the Browns. Dominant as the offensive line has looked all year long. You have a situation where Tony Pollard had a career day, and I'm not saying Tony has to have 165 yards and 2 touchdowns every game for them to be able to win a game. In this particular game, he did, but the benefit was they didn't have to lean on Cam Ward the whole way through. They could take some pressure off the rookie quarterback. They could allow for him to make some mistakes because they could reliably and consistently run the football. We talked to Alec Iamaner, me and Jim Wyatt, in the locker room earlier today about his willingness, one, playing out west for the first time since he graduated from Stanford as a rookie. And, well, I don't know that he graduated, but since he was drafted from Stanford, he may have graduated. I'm not sure. But playing out on the West Coast for the first time since he was drafted from Stanford, and also how much he enjoyed getting the run game going.
A few coaches coming to the game.
What will that be like playing back in front of them again?
It'll be good. It'll be awesome. I'm excited to see them again. It's been a while.
How excited were you as a team to get the run game going? It's been really tough for you guys all year long.
No, it's been great. It was awesome. As you guys see, Tony was doing his thing out there. But a lot of times run games a team effort. He really made it come to fruition, but the line was doing a great job. Receivers were doing a great job blocking. So it was awesome to see all that.
You got a lot of feedback on that Myles Garrett block?
From the coaches?
Yeah, from anybody.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's what we're supposed to do. That's the whole point of the play, I try to play it off like so he didn't see me. It's kind of a little bit of a cheap shot, but I'll take what I can get.
How much pride you take in that part of the
So that is Alec Iamaner, who decleated Myles Garrett on Sunday this past week in Cleveland as a part of the run game. To get the run game going would be critical. And Alec Iamaner, Van Jefferson, the wide receivers, the tight ends. I thought Gunnar Helm had a couple of nice blocks to help spring some explosive plays in the rushing attack. So pre-snap motion, getting the run game going, and obviously the turnovers. You just simply can't have it against a Niners defense that doesn't get that many turnovers. Niners are not a good defense. I was looking up some numbers on them earlier today as Cosell and I were doing the podcast. And just in terms of their success rate, they are a bottom 7 unit. So they're the 7th worst defense by efficiency so far this season, according to DVOA. And they have allowed 23 touchdowns on the season. Their turnovers, I don't know how many total turnovers that they have. For some reason, this is only showing me interceptions. But they have a league. Well, the Jets don't have a single interception on the season. That's crazy. But the next lowest total for any team is 5 interceptions. Jets don't have a single pick so far this season. That's wild. Dallas, the Giants, the Niners, and the Vikings all have a league tied for the second lowest total in the league as far as interceptions. They have 5 interceptions between those 4 clubs. The Titans, for what it's worth, only have 6 interceptions, and I don't think they had a defensive back have an interception since before Cleveland, since week 1, which is kind of crazy. So if you don't have one of these Cam Ward fumbles that he's kind of become known for here of late, and you find ways to run on that defense because that defense is susceptible, and if you can actually score and continue that positive momentum as far as your offense goes, season high 31 points in Cleveland, I think that this game is winnable. I think that this game is very winnable. I know that the records look drastically different, but the Niners are obviously a better offensive team, but they're banged up, and there are things that can be exploited there. So you can at least, 12.5 seems like a crazy line. Maybe it's just because people aren't buying that the Titans can have a repeat performance. Maybe they lose by double digits. I don't know, but I look at me being through my two-tone blue colored glasses. I want to believe that what they did on Sunday was more real than not. And I can't believe that I just said that out loud because I'm not usually a glowing optimist. But I just like to see competitive football. And it's been so long since they've put up a fight, a real fight against a quality team. So we'll see if they can do that on Sunday because the Niners are hurt, but they're still very much a quality team. Esco says Brownlee didn't get a pick. No, apparently not. Again, these numbers are courtesy of FTN Fantasy, where the Jets defense is credited with 0 interceptions so far on the season. They do have 8 turnover-worthy throws that have been made against them, according to FTN Fantasy, but not been able to capitalize with a pick. All right. So that we'll do weekend bounce back to wrap up here tonight, and then we will send you on your way because I don't want you to miss Sunday or rather Thursday night football. Right after I remind you that the Primetime program is made possible by Simon Says Nashville, the premier men's clothing spot in Middle Tennessee is Simon Says. Go to simonsaysnashville.com for more details and go check out all of ther great items at their Wedgwood Houston store. Also, they have expanded hours. They're staying open now until 7:30. Used to previously only be 5:30, so you can get in there after work and do some holiday shopping, whether it's for you, for your Christmas party, or your holiday gatherings, your family events, whatever the case may be, or if you're shopping for somebody else. SimonSaysNashville.com, open later now. Who needs a bounce back is Sharon Moore and the University of Michigan. They have had scandal after scandal at Michigan. Now They have a coach who's been fired for cause because of an improper relationship with his, well, we don't know specifically, but it's a member of the staff. It's not said specifically in the statement that it was his assistant. There are many rumors floating around on the internet to the effect of that. But the Sharon Moore bounce back situation, I don't know what that looks like. I don't know if he's going to bounce back or not. But I do know that the Houston Texans owner bounced back in one of the funniest videos I've ever seen a team make. This was my favorite bounce back of the week so far that I saw. Perhaps the bounce back has already happened for Cal McNair, the Texans owner.
Cool, and I question, are they tough enough to...
Hi, good morning, Mr. McNair. He still hasn't gotten it yet? Hey, Cal. Hi, Cal.
Thank you.
Whoa, that's for CJ.
CJ only, that's right. Hey, chill. That's CJ. Oh, you right.
Yeah, baby. I've been waiting for that.
Yes.
Now, I know most of you are Titans fans and you didn't give a shit about the Texans and you don't want nice things for the Texans and you don't like the Texans and all these different things. They don't like you, I get that. But that's pretty damn good. That's really well done by the Texans social media team and by the Texans owner, Cal McNair. I believe it's Cal McNair Jr., if I'm not mistaken, but it's one of the best things I saw on the internet this week. So he got his bounce back, even if he had to wait a few days to do so. That's going to do it for us tonight. Have a great rest of your evening. Enjoy the football. Come hang out with me, with Brett Kern, with Coach Dave McGinnis of Titans Radio tomorrow on the radio show from 10 to 1 on 104.5 The Zone. We will look forward to having you there and wrapping up a week before I head out to San Francisco. Reminder, no prime time for me on Sunday night because it's a 3:25 kick, and I will be red-eyeing back from San Francisco. I'm going to land about 5 a.m. on Monday, and I'm not going to be very happy about that. But we'll see if I can't have my mood improved by good football. I know that's a risky proposition around here, but God help me, I'm cautiously optimistic. See you guys.